I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today, we take an inside look at juvenile justice and foster care. Award-winning advocate and national speaker Audi Wodrazka-Espinoza is the chair of the Iowa Youth Justice Council, among other prominent roles in juvenile criminal justice reform. Audi joins us to talk about a healing journey and the efforts to improve the outcomes and capacity for healing those impacted by the juvenile justice and foster care system. Audi, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. My name is Audi, as you mentioned. I am involved in a lot of advocacy with the state of Iowa, as well as on a national level with the Emerging Leaders Committee. I do serve as some other roles as well, such as being a mother and a student, and it keeps me busy all the time, and I love it.
So when you look at this journey, I mean, you've had a personal life story that backs this up. I mean,
Absolutely.
you've been down this road, so to speak, and you became really motivated to do something about it. How did this all begin for you?
Yeah. So, actually, I am not an Iowa native. However, I've lived here before for quite some time. It started when I was very young. I have always been on the move from between these three states. So I've always moved between California, Michigan, where I was actually born, and Iowa, just with family everywhere. And that continued to be evident in my life where I was switching schools every year. And then I became system involved in Iowa. And so I kind of got stuck here for a while. And first it was that I entered the child welfare system. And later down the road, which happens for a lot of individuals, actually, I became juvenile justice involved. And even through my time while I was on probation here in Iowa, I was actually still moving through foster homes and facilities. So residential treatment programs at detention centers. And so I was traveling to California and Michigan and then back here again. So that's kind of how I got started. And I was given the amazing opportunity to be able to start advocating for myself and for other youth. And I've just been on the roll since then. And yeah, it's been pretty great.
So were you what age did you start in the foster care system?
I believe, I'm trying to think. So as a child welfare case, I had a lot of like visitations to the home prior to me actually being removed. So I was involved in that way, but I was on probation before I actually got placed in my first foster home.
So if I might ask, obviously you had a tumultuous youth.
Mm-hmm.
At what age did you end up doing something that got you involved with juvenile justice?
Great question. It was all around the age like 11, 12. And I remember that because on my 13th birthday, I spent it in a residential all-girls facility. So
That must have been exciting for you.
yes.
So this is interesting because at some point from living basically a very chaotic childhood, which we might call ACE's challenge, there were probably a lot of adverse experiences you had to deal with. And then getting involved at a very young age with juvenile justice, which in many ways it could be a way, was it maybe a way of reaching out for help? I mean, getting some attention so that you could break out of this sort of constant chaos?
I would like to say that was my situation, except in my world, the reality was that I didn't know that a different environment existed. I kind of grew up with what I knew, and that was all that it was. But it's funny you say that because I think it was around that time period where I did get system involved, where I started to realize that my life was not as normal as I thought it was. It was very different from my peers, especially coming to Iowa, where most of my peers were predominantly white. And it was just kind of a culture shock for me. There was a lot of differences between me and my peers at school. And a lot of them had like raised concerns, or they would always ask me questions and like tilt their head when they spoke with me. And so that's kind of when I noticed something was a little off between both of our worlds. So
Yeah, in Michigan and California, there's a great deal more diversity,
mhm.
Especially racial diversity and ethnic diversity, than there is in Iowa. So that could be a bit of a culture shock. I can see how that would work. So
Yeah.
what before we get to the end of this segment, what was like the trigger that really moved things in a positive direction for you?
If I'm gonna be honest with you, it really was I had actually, so growing up, since I was removed from my home at a very young age, it was like my goal, my life mission to return back to family. That's what I wanted most. And for some reason, like the world just kept fighting me. It Home was never an option. Or if it was, something came up or something, or I slipped up or whatever it may have been. It wasn't going for a reason. Um, and so finally I was given the opportunity to live with some family that I had never met before. Um, and it was not an ideal situation for me, and I was very happy going into it. But again, it was just kind of like another shock where this is not what I had expected. It wasn't my happy ending that I thought I was gonna get. And it was through that time that um, I kind of realized, like, if family isn't the best option and the system isn't a best option, like what is there in the world for me? And at that
And
time,
let's take a short break right there, and let's start with when we come back from our break about what there really is in the world for Audi, or what there was at that time. See you all after the break. We continue our conversation with Audi. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
This is the internet that keeps the TV streaming, the meetings zooming, the playlist flowing, and the doorbell showing
Anybody home?
who's coming and going. This is the internet that powers the workout, that does the homework, that makes the lights work, that makes for light work, and makes
Don't forget to pick up Charlie.
your life work. This is the internet that keeps it all connected and has hundreds of people who ensure it's protected.
Nice try, hackers.
This is the internet voted best because it's extreme, nothing less.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Audi about juvenile justice and foster care, and shedding light on aspects of care and healing that can be hidden in the shadows of stigma, misunderstanding, and just behind the closed doors, where some of us just don't have the same experiences a lot of our children that are being challenged have had. Audi, continue the story. You were doing great.
What really changed my life trajectory and really got me into my personal growth was getting close with God. So I got heavy in my faith, and that was the most challenging time of my life. I've definitely gone through some trauma when I was younger as well, but I think as far as I can remember, as an individual, like that was the most toughest time of my life, fighting the old me, becoming a different person, when my surroundings were, pushing my buttons to continue to be the old me. And yeah, it's been.
Well, faith's a great role model to reach toward when there's nothing else out there that's helping you. But now you've really transitioned further, and you've been working hard on connecting both the population of a lot of leaders that don't understand the challenges that youth faced in the system, as well as, unearthing some of the stigma and the mysteries behind this. I call it mysteries, but maybe it's invisible to a lot of people because we haven't lived those lives. What are some of the key connections you're making today?
Yeah. So I think the big misconnection between the adult world and the youth that are firsthand experiencing everything is just like, again, like how you said, the reality of living everything day to day, being in a facility and the effects of those, or when your attorney or your juvenile court officer is not picking up the phone, like those are like there's two sides to it. So the JCO may be busy, handling a different case, but the youth is experiencing something where they absolutely need to reach out. And I think
what's the JCO?
A juvenile court officer, my apologies.
That's okay, just so everybody knows it's watching.
Yes. But yeah, my idea that's been really transforming Iowa in the way that it works has been really including youth in conversation and in decisions, where we can disrupt that misconnection between the two worlds that exist. And it's been amazing doing that because you can see the change happening with each individual. I've worked with some hard-headed people, and now you see them making great decisions you would have never imagined, or thought that they would have took a stand on. And there's also, a story where I first had started that kind of helped me get motivated. But there was a leader, and he was going through, we were advocating together, and he was just going through the motion, he said. But he said after that trip with a bunch of youth, he said like he remembered why he was doing the work that he was doing. And he felt like appreciated of us because, again, he would just seem like he was going through the motions, doing work, and he wasn't enjoying himself.
Yeah, one of the things too, it's got to be more difficult because in Iowa, which is predominantly white, nobody looks different, and so many of the stigmas are attached to people looking different. And we have a large population of kids that are dealing with homelessness at foster care, the juvenile justice system, and it's very, very hard to move the population of Iowa to understanding how big a problem this is, because kids are like our future, and that's the great thing about you empowering youth in all these committees and organizations to get them in front of our leaders. Are you finding that the youth just don't have a voice in general in these issues in Iowa?
There's definitely a lot of youth that want to voice their concerns and issues. When you're in the system, you tend to grow like a kind of a little family with the individuals that you are placed with. And so there's really a true passion behind wanting to create a better system, a safer world for other individuals that are going to continue to come into the system and be system impacted. And a lot of individuals just don't know that there's a lot of opportunities out there for them to voice their concerns. But it's not just that. It's the fact that the state of Iowa has now taken steps to ensure that they're supporting youth in the way that they need to, so that they can step forward. Something like that includes is like compensation.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let's take a break. Come back and talk about it. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation about juvenile justice and foster care with Audi Wodrazka-Espinoza. See you all after the break.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
This is the internet that keeps the TV streaming, the meetings zooming, the playlist flowing, and the doorbell showing.
Anybody home?
who's coming and going. This is the internet that powers the workout, that does the homework, that makes the lights work, that makes for light work, and makes
Don't forget to pick up Charlie.
your life work. This is the internet that keeps it all connected and has hundreds of people who ensure it's protected.
Nice try, hackers.
This is the internet voted best because it's extreme, nothing less.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're learning about some of the often overlooked and complicated aspects of healing for children and young adults in the juvenile justice and foster care system. Audi, what are some of the, things you run into with kids where they really are asking you or telling you where they're stuck and how they need help?
A lot of the time that I see has been a lot of the professionals' approach is to kind of just or let me make it easier to understand. So say individual is arrested for stealing from a grocery store. Most of the time a professional stance will be let's discipline them for stealing. However, there's no real healing, there's no real attention to the root cause of why that behavior occurred. So if it's as simple as people won't ask you, why did you steal it? It's just more so this is what's going to happen next. But if you did ask that individual, they'd say I'm hungry, I don't have food at home. Or, my parents are struggling, things like that. And that's where the approach that you take on can really differ in the outcomes that happen. And I think that approach is now being taken on by a lot of individuals, and that's where we're seeing better outcomes.
Yeah, we have seen the concepts of diversion that they're looking at putting into play. Now, when you have young children in foster care, and they might be in the juvenile justice system too at that time, do they feel like the quote unquote system is hopeless for them? I mean, or do they need some more help breaking through those barriers?
Yeah. I think what's unfortunate, and it's not just in Iowa, but it's in a lot of states, there's just a lack of homes available, or even group homes, shelters, whatever it may be, there's a lack of it. So oftentimes you'll see a youth just kind of get shoved into a home. There's been several times where I was sharing a very, very small room with 3 other girls who were maybe older than me or younger than me. And it just wasn't manageable. It made life complicated. But not just that, there's been times where I know there was foster girls sleeping on the couch, and that's not ideal. That's not a home situation. And so I think we need to be better at recruiting more families and making sure they're trained enough to be educated on how to care for such individuals, and really just be educated in general about what to do in certain situations and how to approach the youth, and so forth.
Our children that you're encountering in the system, are they more at risk from things like human trafficking and abuse and substance use and things of that nature? Is it a sort of a raw nerve that they're close to these problems?
It's hard to say because from personal experience, and I will say, I don't speak for all facilities in the state of Iowa or all facilities in all other states, but personally, I went to a facility that did get shut down. And from, again, my personal experience, there were a lot of college students who were hired to care for me, who did not know what they were doing, who would prey on my peers. They would offer them pills, drugs, they would make inappropriate comments towards them. So I would say it's difficult because, a youth is expected to, if they need a home, they go into a shelter. But are we really looking at the staff that we're employing and educating in these facilities?
So we need to raise the bar on a lot of different levels to improve what we're doing there. We're going to take another short break, and we come back. We're going to ask Audi to share some final comments, insights, and inspiration. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
This is the internet that keeps the TV streaming, the meetings zooming, the playlist flowing, and the doorbell showing who's coming and going. This is the internet that powers the workout, that does the homework, that makes the lights work, that makes for light work, and makes...
Don't forget to pick up Charlie.
...your life work. This is the internet that keeps it all connected and has hundreds of people who ensure it's protected.
Nice try, hackers.
This is the internet voted best because it's extreme, nothing less.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're with Audi, where today we explored the efforts to improve outcomes and the capacity for healing those impacted by juvenile justice and foster care. Let's see what final insights and inspiration Audi has to share with us. Audi, share some of the things you've been through and some opportunities that really helped you get to where you are today, which is a powerfully strong advocate on behalf of kids in the juvenile justice system and foster care.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to, again, serve as chair for the Youth Justice Council here in Iowa, which was actually formed by an advocate who works for the government, and she was actually system impacted as well. So it was her voice that said, hey, we should use this money and allocate it to get some youth advocates so we can change our system. And it's been the best decision they've ever made. So not only do I serve on that, but it's provided opportunities and open doors for me to network with individuals. And now I serve as co-chair for Iowa's track team. So kind of decision makings with some money. I serve on the Emerging Leaders Committee, which is a national one. So I serve on there with other amazing folks from different states, and they provide new opportunities as well, just like the Youth Justice Council. I've been able to present at several conferences such as Chicago, Tacoma, DC, in nearby areas like Nebraska. It's been all amazing. And one thing that I especially love about all of these opportunities is that the individuals and professionals are always supportive of me. So I do have a family of my own now. So I have my husband and a 1-year-old daughter. And so when they support me, they also support my family. And so they're ensuring that I am paid for my time, that my family can attend with me, understanding that family is important, and that I need my baby by my side. So that's really been amazing. They've taken a lot of strides to ensure that they're supporting me in any way that they can.
That's a good question. Like when you bring somebody young into a climate where they're dealing with old people or people look like me or older people, what kind of advice do you give them?
I would always say, like, I know I've had to do this with some of my youth when they first started advocating, but it's really, I mean, I used to get intimidated with the fact that, someone's wearing a suit or they look very professional. But at the end of the day, they're just as normal as we are. They are human beings. They make mistakes. They have their ups and downs. Again, just making that realization that, they're human beings.
What are some of the interesting and profound things that adults have either asked of you or told you when you've met with them and shared your views?
Surprisingly, nowadays, I'm more surprised to see that there's a lot more lived expertise in the field now, and I really love that. That's something that's also an opportunity given when you join a lot of youth advocacy, is that there's a career pathway to become someone that you want to be. For me, the state of Iowa is helping me continue to progress in the career that I want to pursue, and they make sure that they're doing that for all the youth that we come by.
It's a difficult question, and it may be better not to do it with numbers. Do you think there's still a lot of kids in Iowa that need to be connected to these resources and get a voice?
Yes, absolutely. But not to toot my own horn, but I also think Iowa's doing amazing with the progress that they have done. At the end of the day, there is still work to be done, but one step at a time is amazing, and progress is progress. And I'm proud of Iowa. For sure.
Do you get into talking to children too? Because I'm betting there's a lot of middle school kids that don't know these problems exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we actually have more recently with the Youth Justice Council, we've been getting in the community a lot more because we understand that supporting the youth is also supporting the community. So we've been reaching out to a lot of individuals, been active in the community, and we actually have a lot more plans to come that include that as well.
And we'll put ways for people to connect into the credits of the show, which is great. Listen, I thank you so very much for being here today and sharing your input. I can see a great career ahead of you, and I'm thankful that you're there to share your lived experiences. And it's a great, hopeful outlook to see that there are more people with lived experience working in the areas that need to help the kids that have these issues. So thank you so very much for working on behalf of children and families of Iowa and around the country, as I understand it. And thank you all for watching today. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.